Krishna, dear devotees, welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. I'm on time for a change, so I hope you're all there, but yeah, if you aren't, I'm sure I'll see you soon. Right here in the live studios in Hythe, Kent, Southeast England, just off the coast of the English Channel, and sometimes called the Haven, because Anglo-Saxon for Hythe is haven. So we're trying to create a haven here by keeping the sound vibration going. So Śrīla Sanatana Goswami has composed a stotram, which is glorification of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. It's called Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Mahima Stotram. And out of that, this is contained within a book that he wrote called Sri Krishna Lila Stava. And it is found as text 412 through 416. And it's Bhagavatam Katha, and it's beautiful. It goes like this. Sarvashastri Dipi Yusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja Sarva Lokaika Drik Prada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Prabho Kalidvandoditaditya Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pantaya Prema Varshak Shadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguro Mad Mahadana Mannisdadaga Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only Savior, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my Savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu saduta dayin adini chochitakada anamunchagadachin mam premna rit kantayospuda. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me, always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, we're on chapter 88. But the first part of the chapter we read yesterday, and it was more or less an analysis of demigod worship and the difference between demigod worship and worship of Vishnu or Krishna. Now we've gotten to the part of the chapter which is the reason it was named the deliverer of Lord Shiva. We're getting to this part of the chapter in which Lord Shiva is going to be saved by Krishna. We're reading from the 88th chapter, the paragraph beginning, as for the benedictions given by demigods like Lord Shiva. As for the benedictions given by demigods like Lord Shiva. There is the following historical incident cited by great sages. Once, Lord Shiva, after giving up a benediction to a demon named Vrikasura, the son of Shakuni, was himself entrapped in a very dangerous position. Vrikasura was searching after a benediction and trying to decide which of the three presiding deities to worship in order to get it. In the meantime, he happened to meet the great sage Narada and consulted with him as to whom he should approach to achieve quick results from his austerity. He inquired of the three deities, namely Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva, who is most quickly satisfied. Narada could understand the plan of the demon, and he advised him, "You had better worship Lord Shiva, then you will quickly get the desired result." Lord Shiva is very quickly satisfied and very quickly dissatisfied also. So you try to satisfy Lord Shiva. Narada also cited instances wherein demons like Ravana and Banasura were enriched with great opulences simply by satisfying Lord Shiva with prayers. Because the great sage Narada was aware of the nature of the demon Vrikasura, he did not advise him to approach Vishnu or Lord Brahma. Persons such as Vrikasura, who were situated in the material mode of ignorance, cannot stick to the worship of Vishnu. After receiving instruction from Narada, the demon Vrikasura went to Kedranath. The pilgrimage site of Kedranath still exists near Kashmir. It is almost always covered by snow, but for part of the year, during the month of July, it is possible to see the deity, and devotees go there to offer their respects. Kedranath is for the devotees of Lord Shiva. According to the Vedic principle, when something is offered to the deities to eat, it is offered in a fire. Therefore, a fire sacrifice is necessary in all sorts of ceremonies. It is specifically stated in the Shastras that gods are to be offered something to eat through the fire. The demon Vrikasura therefore went to Kedranath and ignited a sacrificial fire to please Lord Shiva. After igniting the fire in the name of Lord Shiva, to please him, Vrikasura began to offer his own flesh by cutting it from his body. Here is an instance of worship in the mode of ignorance. In the Bhagavad Gita, different types of sacrifices are mentioned. Some sacrifices are in the mode of goodness, some are in the mode of passion, and some are in the mode of ignorance. There are different kinds of tapasya and worship because there are different kinds of people within this world. But the ultimate tapasya, Krishna consciousness, is the topmost yoga and the topmost sacrifice. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, the topmost yoga is to think always of Lord Krishna within the heart, and the topmost sacrifice is to perform the Sankirtan Yajna. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that the worshippers of the demigods have lost their intelligence. As revealed later in this chapter, Vrikasura wanted to satisfy Lord Shiva for a third-class materialistic objective, which was temporary and without real benefit. The asuras, or persons within the mode of ignorance, the asuras, or persons within the mode of ignorance, will accept such benedictions from the demigods. In complete contrast to this sacrifice in the mode of ignorance, The Archana Vidhi process for worshipping Lord Vishnu or Krishna is very simple. Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that he accepts from his devotee even a little fruit, a flower, or some water, which can be gathered by any person, rich or poor. Of course, those who are rich are not expected to offer only a little water, a little piece of fruit, or a little leaf to the Lord. A rich man should offer something to it according to his position. But if the devotee happens to be a very poor man, the Lord will accept even the most meager offering. The worship of Lord Vishnu or Krishna is very simple, and it can be executed by anyone in this world. But worship in the mode of ignorance, as exhibited by Bhakasura, is not only very difficult and painful, but it is also a useless waste of time. Therefore the Bhagavad Gita says that the worshippers of the demigods are bereft of intelligence. Their process of worship is very difficult, and at the same time, the result obtained is flickering and temporary. Although Bhakasura continued his sacrifice for 6 days, he was unable to personally see Lord Shiva, which was his objective. He wanted to see him face to face and ask him for a benediction. Here is another contrast between demons and devotees. A devotee is confident that whatever he offers to the deity in full devotional service is accepted by the Lord. But a demon wants to see his worshipable deity face to face so that he can directly take the benediction. A devotee does not worship Vishnu or Lord Krishna for any benediction. Therefore a devotee is called akama, free of desire, and a non-devotee is called sarvakama, or desirous of everything. On the 7th day, the demon Bhakasura decided that he should cut off his head and offer it to satisfy Lord Shiva. Thus he took a bath in a nearby lake, and mind you, he's already cut off pieces of his body. And without drying his body and hair, he prepared to cut off his head. According to the Vedic system, an animal to be offered as a sacrifice has to be bathed first, and while the animal is wet, it is sacrificed. When the demon was thus preparing to cut off his head, Lord Shiva became very compassionate. This compassion is a symptom of the quality of goodness. Lord Shiva is called Trilinga, a mixture of the 3 material qualities. Therefore, his manifestation of the nature of compassion is a sign of the quality of goodness. This compassion, however, is present in every living entity. The compassion of Lord Shiva was aroused not because the demon was offering his flesh into the sacrificial fire, but because he was about to commit suicide. This is natural compassion. Even if a common man sees someone preparing to commit suicide, he will try to save him. Lord Shiva appeared from the fire to check the demon from suicide, and it was not done as a very great favor to him. Lord Shiva's touch saved the demon from committing suicide. His bodily injuries immediately healed, and his body became as it was before. Then Lord Shiva told the demon, "My dear Bhakasura, you do not need to cut off your head. You may ask me any benediction you like, and I shall fulfill your desire. I do not know why you wanted to cut off your head to satisfy me. I become satisfied even by an offering of a little water Actually, according to the Vedic process, the Shiva Linga in the temple, or the form of Lord Shiva in the temple, is worshipped simply by offering Ganges water, because it is said that Lord Shiva is greatly satisfied when Ganges water is poured upon his head. Generally, devotees offer Ganges water and the leaves of the bilva tree, which are especially meant for offering to Lord Shiva and Goddess Durga. The fruit of this tree is also offered to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva assured Vrikasura that he is satisfied by a very simple process of worship. Then why was he so eager to cut off his head? And why was he taking so much pain by cutting his body to pieces and offering it in the fire? There was no need of such severe penances. Anyway, out of compassion and sympathy, Lord Shiva prepared to give him any benediction he liked. When the demon was offered this facility by Lord Shiva, he asked for a fearful and abominable benediction. The demon was very sinful, and sinful persons do not know what sort of benediction should be asked from the deity. Therefore he asked Lord Shiva to bless him with such power that as soon as he would touch anyone's head, it would immediately crack and the man would die. The demons are described in the Bhagavad Gita as dushkritis, or miscreants. Kriti means very meritorious. But when du is added, it means abominable. Instead of surrendering under the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the dushkritis worship different demigods to derive abominable material benefits. Although the dushkritis have brain power and merit, their merit and brain power are used for abominable activities. Sometimes, for example, materialistic scientists invent a lethal weapon. The scientific research for such an invention certainly requires a very good brain. But instead of inventing something beneficial to human society, they invent something to accelerate death, which is already assured to every man. They cannot show their meritorious power by inventing something which can save man from death. Instead, they invent weapons which accelerate the process of death. Similarly, Vrikasura, instead of asking Lord Shiva for something beneficial to human society, asked for something very dangerous to human society. Lord Shiva is powerful enough to give any benediction, so the demon could have asked something beneficial from him. But for his personal interest, he asked that anyone whose head would be touched by his hand would at once die. Lord Shiva could understand the motive of the demon, and he was very sorry that he assured him whatever benediction he liked. He could not withdraw his promise, but he was very sorry in his heart that he was to offer him a benediction so dangerous to human society. Devotees of the Personality of Godhead never ask any benediction from Lord Vishnu or Krishna, and even if they ask something from the Lord, it is not at all dangerous for human society. That is the difference between the demons and the devotees, or the worshippers of Lord Shiva and the worshippers of Lord Vishnu. While Shukadeva Goswami was narrating the history of Vrikasura, he addressed Maharaj Parikshit as Bharata, referring to King Parikshit's birth in a family of devotees. Maharaj Parikshit was saved by Lord Krishna while in his mother's womb. Later, he could have asked Lord Krishna to save him again, from the curse of a Brahmana, but he did not do so. The demon, however, wanted to become immortal by killing everyone with a touch of his hand. Lord Shiva could understand this, but because he had promised, he gave him the benediction. The demon, however, being very sinful, immediately decided that he would use the benediction to kill Lord Shiva and take away Gauri, Parvati, for his personal enjoyment. He immediately decided to place his hand on the head of Lord Shiva. Thus Lord Shiva was put into an awkward position because he was endangered by his own benediction to a demon. This is an instance of the materialistic devotees misusing the power derived from the demigods. Without further deliberation, the demon Bhakasura approached Lord Shiva to put his hand on Lord Shiva's head. Lord Shiva was so afraid of him that his body trembled, and he fled from the land to the sky, and finally from the sky to other planets, until he reached the limits of the universe, above the higher planetary system. Lord Shiva fled from one place to another, but the demon Bhakasura continued to chase him. The predominating deities of other planets, such as Brahma, Indra, and Chandra, could not find any way to save Lord Shiva from the impending danger. Wherever Lord Shiva went, they remained silent. At last, Lord Shiva approached Lord Vishnu, who was situated within this universe on the planet known as Shweta-dvīpa. Shweta-dvīpa is a local Vaikuntha planet. Beyond the jurisdiction of the influence of the external energy, Lord Vishnu, in his all-pervasive feature, remains everywhere. But wherever he remains personally is the Vaikuntha atmosphere. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that the Lord remains within the heart of all living entities. As such, the Lord remains within the heart of many low-born living entities. But that does not mean he is low-born. Wherever he remains is transformed into Vaikuntha. Let's repeat that again. This is very important. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that the Lord remains within the heart of all living entities. As such, the Lord remains within the heart of many low-born living entities. But that does not mean that he is low-born. Wherever he remains is transformed into Vaikuntha. So the planet within this universe known as Shweta-dvīpa is also Vaikuntha Loka. It is said in the Shastras that residential quarters within the forest are in the mode of goodness. Residential quarters in big cities, towns, and villages are in the mode of passion. And residential quarters in an atmosphere wherein indulgence in the four sinful activities of illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling predominates are in the mode of ignorance. But residential quarters in a temple of Vishnu, the Supreme Lord, are in Vaikuntha. It doesn't matter where the temple is situated. The temple itself, wherever it may be, is Vaikuntha. Similarly, the Shweta-dvīpa planet, although within the material jurisdiction, is Vaikuntha. Lord Shiva finally entered Shweta-dvīpa, Vaikuntha. In Shweta-dvīpa, there are great saintly persons who are completely freed from the envious nature of the material world and are beyond the jurisdiction of the four principles of material activity, namely religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. Anyone who enters into that Vaikuntha planet never returns to this material world. Lord Narayana is celebrated as a lover of his devotees. And as soon as he understood that Lord Shiva was in great danger, he appeared as a brahmachari and personally approached Lord Shiva to receive him from a distant place. The Lord appeared as a perfect brahmachari, with a belt around his waist, a sacred thread, a deer skin, a brahmachari stick, and Rodra beads. Rodra beads are different from Tulasi beads. Rodra beads are used by the devotees of Lord Shiva. They have bumps all over them. Dressed as a brahmachari, Lord Narayana stood before Lord Shiva. The shining effulgence emanating from his body attracted not only Lord Shiva, but also the demon Vrikasura. Lord Narayana offered his respects and obeisances unto Vrikasura just to attract his sympathy and attention. Thus, stopping the demon, the Lord addressed him as follows: "My dear son of Shakuni, you appear very tired, as if coming from a very distant place. What is your purpose? Why have you come so far? I see that you are fatigued, so I request you to take a little rest. You should not unnecessarily tire your body. Everyone greatly values his body, because only with the body can one fulfill all the desires of one's mind. We should not, therefore, unnecessarily give trouble to the body." Shall I repeat that? This is too good. Everyone greatly values his body, because only with the body can one fulfill all the desires of one's mind. We should not, therefore, unnecessarily give trouble to the body. That goes even for devotees. The brahmachari addressed Vrikasura as the son of Shakuni, just to convince him that he was known to his father, Shakuni. Vrikasura then took the brahmachari to be someone known to his family, and therefore the brahmachari's sympathetic words appealed to him. Before the demon could argue that he had no time to take rest, the Lord informed him about the importance of the body, and the demon was convinced. Any man, especially a demon, takes his body to be very important. Thus, Vrikasura became convinced about the importance of his body. Then, just to pacify the demon, the brahmachari told him, "My dear Lord, if you think that you can disclose the mission for which you have taken the trouble to come here, maybe I shall be able to help you, so that your purpose will be easily served." Indirectly, the Lord informed him that because the Lord is the Supreme Brahman, he would certainly be able to adjust the awkward situation created by Lord Shiva. The demon was greatly pacified by the sweet words of Lord Narayana in the form of a brahmachari, and at last he disclosed all that had happened in regard to the benediction offered by Lord Shiva. The Lord replied to the demon as follows: "I myself cannot believe that Lord Shiva has in truth given you such a benediction. As far as I know, Lord Shiva is not in a sane mental condition." When he had a quarrel with his father-in-law, Daksha, he was cursed to become a pischacha, ghost. Thus he has become the leader of the ghosts and hobgoblins. Therefore I cannot put any faith in his words. But if you still have faith in the words of Lord Shiva, my dear king of the demons, then why don't you make an experiment by putting your hand on your own head? If the benediction proves false, then you can at once kill this liar, Lord Shiva, so that in the future he will not dare give out false benedictions. In this way, by Lord Narayana's sweet words and by the expansion of his superior illusion, the demon became bewildered, and he actually forgot the power of Lord Shiva and his benediction. He was thus very easily persuaded to put his hand on his own head. As soon as the demon did that, his head cracked as if struck by a thunderbolt, and he immediately died. The demigods from heaven showered flowers on Lord Narayana, praising him with shouts of all glories and all thanksgiving. They offered their obeisances to the Lord. On the death of Vritrasura, all the denizens in the higher planetary systems, namely the demigods, the Pitris, the Gandharvas, and the inhabitants of Janaloka, showered flowers on the personality of Godhead. Thus Lord Vishnu, in the form of a brahmachari, released Lord Shiva from the impending danger and saved the whole situation. Lord Narayana then informed Lord Shiva that this demon, Vritrasura, was killed as a result of his sinful activities. He was especially sinful and offensive because he wanted to experiment on his own master, Lord Shiva. Lord Narayana then told Lord Shiva, "My dear Lord, a person who commits an offense to great souls cannot continue to exist. He is vanquished by his own sinful activities." And this is certainly true of this demon, who has committed such an offensive act unto you. Thus, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, who is transcendental to all material qualities, Lord Shiva was saved from being killed by a demon. Anyone who hears this story, this history, with faith and devotion, is certainly liberated from material entanglement, as well as from the clutches of his enemies. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 88th chapter of Lord Krishna, the deliverance of Lord Shiva. Jai. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, who is the most influential, sweet-talking person in the universe, in the whole of the cosmic creation and the spiritual world also. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 88th chapter of Krishna, the deliverer of Lord Shiva. Now, the next, we're at 750, and I want to make a confession to all the devotees out there that 2 days ago I overdid it to the point where I had kind of like a problem with my back, pretty serious. And yesterday I couldn't read. And today I was better because I used the heating pad and took extra rest, and now I'm better, but I'm not well. Okay. So tomorrow's Janmashtami, very intense day, and I would like permission from all the sages here to stop our reading tonight. It's already 7:50, and we'll start reading chapter 89 tomorrow, and then and we might read extra tomorrow because of Janmashtami. So please, we'll stop the reading tonight and ask the assembled sages to please offer their reflections and so on.
Okay, the first comment is from Gopakanya Devi Dasi.
Hare Krishna Gopakanya.
Hare Krishna, dear Maharaj and all friends, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
And from Rati Manjari.
Haribo Rati.
Jai Guru Maharaj.
Jai.
Getting ready for the exciting festival days.
Well, with us, we're out here in the middle of, not nowhere, but we're far away from any temples, and I'm still not fully mobile, so we'll just be staying here. And we plan on having alternative reading of the Chaitanya Charitamrita and japa all throughout the day. So that way our offering to Lord Krishna will be a continuous pouring out of our hearts by the process of hearing and chanting. Hare Krishna.
From Brian Phillips.
Hey Bhakta Brian, Haribo.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai, all glories to Prabhupada.
Laura Gentile.
Who?
Laura.
Gentile. Laura Gentile. Yeah.
Haribo.
Haribo.
From Sudevi Dasi. Says Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Sudevi Dasi, Hare Krishna.
This is from Bhakta Matsu.
Haribo Bhakta Matsu.
Says, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Maharaj, thank you so much for reading.
Well, you're entirely welcome. The pleasure is all mine. Believe me.
From Braj Vallabha.
Hey Braja, Haribo.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Ho.
I realized yesterday how lucky we are to be led by such a sincere, humble, and experienced devotee.
Oh, Hare Krishna.
This is our great fortune.
Hare Krishna.
From Anandamurti Devi Dasi.
Hare Krishna Anandamurti.
Dear Guru Maharaj and all assembled devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you so much. Offense to the great devotee of the Lord is very dangerous. I will take care myself not to make offenses to the devotees. Thank you so much.
Yes, that is a nice takeaway from this pastime especially.
More from Laura Gentile.
Hare Krishna, Laura.
She says, okay, by me, go rest. All glories to Prabhupada.
Thanks very much.
Happy Janmashtami tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
And from Vilas Manjari.
Yes, Vilas Manjari. Haribo.
Dear Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. I hope you feel better soon and look forward to tomorrow when we'll be reading the super excellent power of Krishna on Janmashtami.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Haribo.
Krishna is so balanced and considerate of everyone, even the demons' ultimate benefit.
Yes. Yes, that's true. He was killed by Krishna, by Vishnu, therefore he got benediction. It doesn't say anything. We don't know what happened to him, but he was pretty sinful. So let's see. I don't know. There may be something in the Puranas about it, but I haven't heard.
From Rati Manjari.
Haribo Rati.
Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. I have a question. It was said that a devotee has full faith that the Lord will accept his offering, and he does not need to see the Lord. I was wondering, what if we are not so pure yet? Is it appropriate to have the faith that the Lord will anyway accept our offering, or is that presumptuous?
It's not presumptuous because it's there in the Shastra. It's there, Krishna says it himself, Patram pushpam palam toyam yomi bhakti priyachati. But the word bhaktya appears, 2 or 3 times. Patram pushpam palam toyam yomi bhaktya priyachati tadaham bhakti paritam vishnami priyatatma. So twice he mentions the word in this verse, bhaktya, because it's not the fruit of the flower or whatever physical thing you're offering. It's the devotion with which you offer it. So he promises this to us. So you should be reassured, and even if you can't see him, you can, or you're not advanced enough to see him, you can be sure that whatever you offer him with devotion, he will accept. Hare Krishna.
Also, I was wondering how it was possible that a demon like Vyāsadeva could enter into Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam.
We don't know he entered into Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. It doesn't mention that he entered into Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Lord Shiva entered there, but it doesn't mean that the demon did. Lord Shiva explained to Lord Vishnu what was happening, and then he appeared to that demon as a little brahmachari. But it doesn't say that the demon was in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam.
From Yadutama.
Yadutama, Haribol.
Hare Krishna Gurudev, my obeisances and all glories to Prabhupada. Thanks for being a great example of what we need to do to take care of ourselves so that we can continue to serve Srila Prabhupada and Krishna.
Well, we heard it, didn't we, right from Vishnu's mouth today.
I have a quick question. What does it mean to be liberated from the clutches of our enemies? Aren't these our anarthas and material attachments?
Yes, but this is a particular benediction offered in a particular situation because there was an actual physical demon that was attacking Lord Shiva. And therefore all the demigods start throwing flowers and, praising Lord Vishnu for what he did, because he was eliminating a person from the universe who was going to go and be an enemy to everyone. So it may be that anarthas are also enemies. It says in the Bhagavad Gita, udariratmanatnanan natmanam avasarya atmavat bandur, that we need to use the mind, and if it's controlled, then it's a friend, and if it's not controlled, then it's an enemy. So even our enemy, or even our mind, if it's uncontrolled, can be our enemy. But in this case, it's talking about external enemies who are attacking you and trying to destroy you. Hare Krishna.
Next is from Gauranga Gopal.
Haribol Gauranga Gopal.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Haribol.
I have been watching your Vyasa Puja in replay for the last few days, and have been really touched by the effect you have on so many great devotees. I also appreciated so much how you reciprocated with each devotee by glorifying them in return, as well as the sweetness of your relationships with your god brothers and sisters. I am extremely humbled by these loving exchanges. Thank you for inviting me into this great family.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much for coming.
I have a couple of quick questions for tonight from the reading, if it is okay.
Sure.
First, is Vrikasura's father the Shakuni from the Mahabharata?
Don't know. It's a common name.
Then my second question was, why did Lord Shiva not go straight away to the shelter of Lord Vishnu after Vrikasura tried to kill him?
It's on the road. He was on the road to Vishnu, but he met these persons on the road. There's a pathway that goes back to Vishnu, and it passes by these places.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
From Daitari Haridas.
Jai Dadya Hare Haridas Haribo.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and these daily readings. Lord Shiva is in charge of the mode of ignorance, and Brahma is in charge of the mode of passion. It seems like they are sometimes affected by those modes. However, surely beings on that level aren't under those modes. In our own situation, sometimes we might have to do services where we need to engage in activities in the lower modes. How do we avoid being affected by those modes?
You don't do devotional service that's in a lower mode? What do you mean? There is no lower mode when you're doing devotional service. Devotional service is absolute. You can't do sinful activities and do devotional service, but then you're not doing devotional service. So it's a misnomer, what you're saying.
There's a little more.
It says in the verse, in the chapter, that he's called Trilinga, which means he has all the modes are there. Everyone in the material world, Krishna says, there's no one up to Brahman Shiva. This is in the Bhagavad Gita, who is free, completely free from the influence of the modes of nature. That's why Lord Vishnu, of the three qualitative incarnations, because he's in charge of the qualitative mode of goodness, he's never affected by passion and ignorance. But sometimes Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma are, because they are the qualitative incarnations that take care or are in charge of those modes, and therefore they have to come in contact with them sometimes. Therefore the Bhagavatam, I think it's the second or third chapter, says that the devotees therefore reject the ghastly forms of the demigods, who are still, come in contact with the modes of nature. Of course, not all of demigods have ghastly forms. Some of them do. Kali, sometimes there's forms that aren't so attractive.
He says, for example, we've spent the last few days inside a music festival, giving out books and collecting Lakshmi. It was a very tamoguna environment.
Oh, I see. Anyway, that doesn't mean that you're going to a tamoguna environment. They're there and you're transcendental. As long as you keep doing. There's a nice story. This is an anecdotal story. It was in 1975, and Srila Prabhupada went to Atlanta, and the Radha-Damodara Sankirtan devotees went there to meet him. And while he was there, so there was a lot of big-time book distributors there. And I think it was the temple commander, the temple somebody of authority in the temple asked Prabhupada this question during the darshan with the Sankirtan devotees. And he said, we're concerned, Srila Prabhupada, because devotees are going out and falling down when they're distributing your books, while they're distributing your books. And Prabhupada said, they're not falling down while they're distributing my books. They're falling down when they stop distributing my books. So just because you're in a place of tamagun, you don't have to be there in the tamagun if you continue to do that service, continue to distribute, continue to try to help the others. But if you stop and let their influence affect you, yes, then you can be in trouble. But devotees, they take that risk. And therefore the preachers are most protected, by Krishna. Another example. During the years I was distributing books in the early 70s and mid 70s, I don't know how many devotees were going out, but by the time 1976, 77 came around, lots of devotees were going out, lots. And basically what they were doing is they were out in public in a parking lot or an airport or someplace, shopping mall, and they were there giving books and putting money into the bag, right? And there are thieves out there that are always looking, pickpockets, different kinds of thieves are always looking for opportunities to steal. So you can imagine, somebody out in public so many times, thousands, at least hundreds. Not one time did anybody come and actually steal something from a devotee. Which means they were protected. There's no other explanation for it. So as long as you keep performing devotional service, whatever that service is, you're protected, and Krishna will not touch you. Maya will not touch you. One time Prabhupada was giving a class, I think it was in Vrindavan, and he said something to the effect that he would never fall down, to try to help the devotees get faith in him. And then he came to the deities, and I think it was one of his servants, or anyway, I don't remember that detail. And Prabhupada was praying very intently in front of the deities. So when he got back to his quarters, this servant or whoever it was who was around Prabhupada at that time, he asked Prabhupada a question. He said, Prabhupada, I noticed you were praying very diligently, or very especially intensely. And I was wondering if it would please you, and if I was capable of hearing the answer, could you explain to me what you were praying? And Prabhupada said, I was praying that I would never fall down into Maya. And then the devotee responded, but Prabhupada, you just told us that you couldn't fall down. He said, yes. Now you know why. Because I'm always praying to Krishna that I won't fall down. Hare Krishna. So if you keep that attitude, Krishna will protect you always.
From Rati Manjari.
Haribo Rati.
She says, yes, that is true. Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Well, you're entirely welcome. I thank you very much for patiently tolerating my stopping a little early of the reading and wanting to get extra rest because of the condition I'm in right now. I deeply appreciate it. Thank you so much, everyone. Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Sri Guru in Gauranga. Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo. See you tomorrow. Well, yes, we're going to start at the same time, but we may go extra tomorrow because it's Janmashtami and everyone has to stay up late. So anyway, we'll see you then. Same time, same place, same topic. The ever-expanding, sweet, glorious, opulent pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Haribo.